Hey guys, it's Jenny here from Angel Handmade Papercraft. Today I am sharing a card with you from the using the La La Land Crafts April 2017 stamp kit. I do purchase this every month. It's one of my favorite things to receive every month. So I'm just showing you through all the bits and pieces of the stamp kit. I have mounted the stamp onto my Misty stamping tool with some Mondi Color Copy 250 GSM. I'm inking the image up using Memento Tuxedo Black. So just pushing that in, making sure I'm getting a good stamped image. Now I'm doing the same thing with the little bunnies. I didn't worry about cutting all this one up. It wasn't in my way or anything, so I just stamped and inked up the whole lot. Again, just inking it up using Memento Tuxedo Black. Giving it a firm little push just to make sure it inks up well. It is the first time I've used that stamp set, but you don't really have much of a problem with red rubber normally. Just giving that a quick clean up using some wet baby wipes. So this is my images all stamped up, ready to go. Just zooming in so you can see those well. So I'm running through with my end markers. So I'm colouring the bunnies in first. So I'm using N0, N2, N4 and 0 colourless blender. Sorry you can't see my colouring here. I'm very much over the top of my colouring type person. I have moved my camera around. I had a few people mention to me that I needed to move my camera so that it was actually over my head, but then we hit this issue. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully it's okay. I might need to move it just a tad or try and watch the way that I'm holding my markers, because it does make it very difficult for you guys to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going around the edges, just trying to make the bunny just so that it is a round face. So just working my way through the colours. Now going in, blending that out with my N0 marker. Oh, sorry, that was the N2 marker. And now I'm using my N0 marker just to blend all those colours out. These little hands, or little paws, whatever you want to call them. Just starting to work on his body here, so I'm using the N4 marker. Work my way down now to the N2 marker. And then finally I'll go in with my N0 marker just to pull all those colours out. My markers are very juicy, so I did have to go back in and just add a little bit more in. So now I'm working on the back of the bunny. I didn't actually end up using this one on the card that you'll see it. Oh, sorry. It is only 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but I didn't sleep very well. So as I was saying, I didn't end up using the back of the bunny in my card at the end of this video, but I will use it on another project. It would actually be cute on a little bookmark or something. I'm sure that one of my kids would like that. So I'm just using the N0 marker just to pull out that colour on the bunny's ears. Now moving on to his body, using the N4 marker to start with. Just working my way around now using the N2 marker. And down to the N0 marker to pull all those colours out and blend them all together. So These are quite gorgeous images. I actually totally forgot that I had this kit. I seen it uploaded on one of the La La Land Crafts Facebook pages a few days ago, and I said to one of the girls, I said, I don't even know if I have that one. And she said, oh, I think you do. And I went through all of my club kits, and of course it was there, never been used. Those that know me will know that I am a big hoarder. Oh, here I go again, sorry. A big hoarder of my stamps, so I do have a lot of stamp sets that I haven't used because I have so many. I try to keep all my new ones aside so that I can use them before I put them away, but sometimes I do a cleanup and I just put them all away. So just working on the ears there, I used the R40s and R01 markers, and then I blended that out. I think I did with the Zero Colorless blender. So now I'm going in on his little feet. Oh, I can't stop yawning. We're off to a wedding meeting tonight, so I can't be yawning. We've got things to do. So I don't know if all of you watch all of my videos and listen to me blabber on, but as of tomorrow there is 3 weeks until our wedding, so that's quite exciting. It's very nerve-wracking, it's stressful, it's all of those things combined. So I'm trying to pump in as much creating as I can over the next couple of weeks so that I am able to have a relaxing honeymoon and just take some time, just the two of us, time away from everybody and everything. So just working on the bottom of the paws, just using those R markers again, so the R40s and R01. I'm using blue markers for his little bow around his neck there, so I'm using the BG02, BG09 and BG07. Something I did notice when I was colouring is that the BG07 is actually darker than the BG09, so just watch your blending when you're using those colours, and keep in mind that the BG07 is actually the darker of the two markers. So because the areas are so small, I tried to do all of my light colour first, and now I'm just going in and popping in the dark shadow areas. So this is where I find out that my BG09 marker was actually lighter. So now I'm just going into the darker areas with the BG07, and then I'll come back and I'll work my way through those colours again. And then lastly, going in and blending that out with the BG02 marker. And now I'm moving on to the little tiny bunnies. I also didn't end up using those on my card either, but I thought I would leave all the colouring in there so that you guys could see all of that. So just working on the ears with the N4, the N2 and the N0 markers. And going back with the N0 marker to blend all that out. Okay, now we're moving on to the back of the body. Again, still using the same N markers. I do swap and change between the N markers and the C markers. I don't really have favourites of either of them. I just thought I would use the N markers today. So if you do not own the N markers but you do own the C markers, just use the C markers. So normally I use either the odds or the evens. So you either use N1, N3, N5, or you use the N2, N4, N6. And then obviously if you want to go a bit darker, then you'll use the darker of the evens or the odds. Just working my way through. One more to go. So in with the N4 marker. Down to the N2 marker. And then lastly the N0 marker to blend all of that out. So I'm just adding some stippling, I believe that they call it, but just the dotted detail into their tails just to make them look a little bit more fluffy. Okay, that's the markers that I used, and now I'm moving on to Marci. So this is Marci with Tulip. Yes, Marci with Tulips. So I would think that these would be getting released separately next month. I think it's normally 12 months. Oh, sorry. 12 months after the kit release, I think, is when they normally release all the images and the dies separately. So I'm just working on the skin first. So I'm doing my standard skin color, which is the E000, E00, E21, E11, E04 and the R20. So I normally lay down the latest, my words are not working today, the lightest color first, which is the E000, and then I'll go in with my darkest color, which is the E04. Now keep in mind that she does have a very large hat on, so that would cause a cast shadow over quite a lot of her forehead of her face. That's why I brought down the dark color quite a bit more than what I normally would do. So I'm just working my way down through all of my skin colors. I think that's the E00. And then adding some R20 in for the cheeks. And then going back in with my E000 to blend the cheeks out, and then finish toning in the skin to the center of her face. Sorry guys, just trying to play with my light here. Just going in, yep, blending those cheeks out a little bit. I did have a think about it, and I did want to bring that darkness down from her hat just a little bit more, so I didn't go back in with the E04 because it would be quite dark. So I've just gone in, I think it was either the E21 or the E11, and just I bring that, there you go, I'm just showing you there, just bring that dark color back in, and then just pulled it back out just with the E000. Now moving on to her arms, same process. I just add the lightest color down first, and then I'll go in with my darkest color. Now you don't need to use much when you've only got small areas to color. So I'm just using the very, very tip of my markers to add in those dark areas, and then I'll go back in and blend it all out. My biggest tip with the Copic markers is to make sure that you keep them clean. So here in Australia we have some, it's got a rubbing alcohol, it's called Isocol. Comes in a green bottle and it's got a crocodile on the front of it. That's what I use to clean the ends of my markers and inside the lids. It generally keeps them from going sticky. Those of you that use Copic Markers a lot will know what I'm talking about. But for those that are new to Copic Markers, the nib of your markers, once it's got quite a lot of build up of dry ink and stuff in it, it goes all shiny and you can't blend it, and most of the time it does actually ruin your nib. So I try to clean my markers every time I use them. I know other people that just spend a day just cleaning all of their markers. I've got nearly a whole set, so that would take me just a little bit of time, so I prefer just to clean them as I go. So I'm just moving on to her legs now, just again same skin colors, just working my way through. So when I'm cleaning the markers, normally I'll just use a cotton tip or a cotton ball. Now occasionally I do actually clean the nibs of the markers, and then I will use the colourless blender to do that. I'm now moving on to her hat. So this is where I'm pulling in those BG colours that I did use. I think that's the same ones that I used. I'm using the BG01, BG07 and BG09 this time around. Now my lightest blue marker was a little bit empty here, so I did actually take a break in between and filled up my marker. Okay, so I'm just showing you that I've used the same blues to match that. I'm also using the same blues on the ribbon around her flowers. Again, you don't need much colour to go on those because they are such a small area. So just blending all those in. Now I am moving on to her dress and her shoes. So I'm using RV markers. I'm using RV00, RV02, RV04 and RV06. Now some of these RV colours are quite bright pinks, but if you can get the right blend and use just the right amount of them, they kind of tone themselves down. So as you can see, when I first applied that RV06 marker, it was very, very bright, but I did manage to tone it down a little bit. If you have a look at the tip of that marker right there, you can see how bright it is. Now I decided here that I wasn't going to colour the whole dress in. My first idea was to just do a light polka dot, so that's what I've done there, and then I've realised that I've accidentally dotted on her hand while I was there, but I've gone back in and started adding a few of the darker colours into the dress, and then I decided to add some of that BG marker in just to bring out the blue and just to blend her dress in, I suppose, to the hat and to the little bunny. So just popping all of that dotted detail on, and that's where I made the decision to add the BG marker. Just working my way through, just making sure that it's got an even coat. It is, you know, a piece of material, so it needs to have it evenly all over it. Okay, so now moving on to the tulips. I had it in my mind from the start that I wanted to do red tulips. I don't know if they even come in red. I'm not a big flower person, but that's what I wanted to use. So I am using the... Oh, I didn't actually write that down. What do I normally use? R35, R37, and R59. So once again, I just went in with my lightest colour. Now I'm just going in with my darkest colour to add all the dark shadow areas in. Just carefully blending all that out. Like the areas are very, very small, and red markers do bleed very easily, so you just need to be very careful with the amount of colour that you do apply. and not to oversaturate them. If you do notice that they are starting to bleed, just give them a minute so that a little bit of the ink can dry, and then go back in and work on them. But this was only a very small area. Now just adding the green to the stem, so I'm using I did write it down. So I use R35, R37 and R59, and then I use G07 for the stems of the flowers. I did decide here just to add the pink to the bottom of her dress as well. The shoes were still just a little bit too bright, so I thought if I added the dark pink to the bottom of her dress, it would just blend it all in just a little bit more. So I'm not too far off done now, so I'm just going to start working on her hat. So I'm using E41, E42, E43 and E44. So I'm just starting with the E41 marker, just laying down a very light coat of that one, and then I'll go in with my dark marker and add all those dark sections in. So because it is a large bucket type hat, obviously it would cast a shadow within itself, so that's why I've put such a dark coat down first, and now I'm just going through all my colors and blending that out. So I don't think I went back in with my E41 marker once I added that dark area in. I thought the E41 was going to be too light to blend them all out, and I didn't really need to go that extra step. So I'm just working my way through now with all those markers, and then carefully going back in with the E42 to blend them all out. Okay, now working on the top of her hat. Didn't feel like I had the right marker in my hand for a minute. So now just working on the last of her hat, just the front area there. So I'm using the E44 down to the E43, and then finally down to the E42, carefully blending all of those colors out together. So next I'm going to work on her hair. I was going for a blonde tone, but still adding a little bit of brown to it, so it wasn't like a white blonde. So I'm using YR20, Y23, Y26 and E35. So first I'm just adding in the lightest color, which was the YR20. And then I will start working through my colors. I had actually was going to use E53, and I decided that I needed something just a little bit darker. So I'm going in with the E35 marker, and I'm just carefully with a flicking motion, just flicking down from the top of the hat down, and then from the bottom of the hair up. So normally I would, I realized once again I colored in her arm. Pay attention. So normally I would turn the image completely around to do this. So that's what I'm doing here. So I find it easier to flick towards myself, but it depends on the way that their hair is flowing as well. So here you can see that I'm turning the image back around a little bit. So then I'll just start working through each of my colors and just going down a little bit further. I know some people that do prefer to start with their lightest color and then shorten their flickings. It's up to you. It's completely up to you. This is the way that I prefer to do it. Whatever makes you comfortable. So just about finished now. I'm going back in with the Y23 marker just to tone it into a more of a blondie type brown, and that's when I decided the headband was just standing out a little bit too much with the blue, so I've just gone in with my darkest pink marker just to add a little bit of stippling to the hat. And and then just adding a little bit of shadow onto the sides of her dress, just so it doesn't look like it's just been stuck on the front of her. And that's it. Just wanted to say thank you everyone for stopping by. We hit 100 followers on YouTube yesterday, so that was pretty exciting here for me. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, and hope to see you all here again soon. See ya!